Gary spent 40 years in prison, and Debbie and I were privileged to go pick him up January 4th, 2023. He got out on a compassionate release. Like Gary he had life plus 33 to 50. He was never supposed to get out of prison. Gary had a medical problem and was released on what they call a compassionate release. He was supposed to die in February that year. But God had a different plan. There was a man that Gary had an altercation with. He did 24 years in prison. And 20 years ago, this coming November, they had an altercation that was very, very serious. It put that man in the hospital. It put Gary in the hole for 8 months until they was going to take him to trial and give him more time and all that. Well, they never saw each other again, ever. Today, that man came to church, come up to us. In my almost 40 years of prison ministry, this is kind of one of the happiest days of my life. Because I've seen a lot of good stuff happen over the years, but I've never seen this situation. So Todd and I are talking, and Todd's like, yeah, I did 24 years. I said, you know Gary Lowe? And Todd's like, yeah, that's the guy that stabbed me 7 times. And Todd calls me and says, Bill, I forgave Gary a long time ago, but I'd like to see, and Gary, Gary was forgiven by God and all that, but Gary had never had a chance to tell Todd he was sorry.
The long and short of it is that I got stabbed 6 times. Every hole missed me by half an inch to be fatal. 4 times in my head, once in my back, and once all the way through my hand. The ice pick got stuck in my hand, and that's what saved my life. But really, God saved my life.
Amen.
I was a very prideful, very violent man. I was an incredible liar, because that's what prison teaches. But God's grace brought me to this moment where I get to apologize to a man I hurt. I actually tried to kill this man and almost did. And I thank God every day, especially when he reminded me of it, that where we're here now, that I get to hug this brother and be in his life and him to forgive me for what I've done to him.
I just want to say one more thing. Gary, before all these people, I love you and I forgive you for stabbing me. I just want to say, there's no resentment, there's no animosity, there's no bitterness. I truly forgive you 110%. And you're my brother, and we're going to heaven.